basically you had to be a team player within a constitutional system, following the laws, being open about things, and again, limiting the corruption. Okay, bottom line on this, when you think about it, he's saying we're going to give this to one leader every year in Africa. Okay, problem with that. Is there a problem with it? Just Ariel, is there a problem with this on its face? Would you take notice as a leader if you had a chance to get a $5 million cash prize?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a bribe, though.
It's kind of a bribe. So a good leader should be a good leader without having to be bribed in order to do so.
Yeah, but you also have the problem of people wanting to get into office just to get the money.
Okay.
And then you have the problem of really rich leaders, and then you get into the problem of dictators.
Okay. What does all this mean? I don't.
It just doesn't seem like a good idea to give
Wow,
leaders
hands
like a
go
lot of money.
up.
Well, you're not even giving all of them money. You're
Yeah.
just giving one.
Yeah, and it seems like that's giving them an opportunity to rise to power you might not want.
Okay. Go ahead, Kevin.
At the same time, it's a cash prize for doing the right thing, isn't it?
Right.
Essentially. That's the basis of capitalism. Like, people who invent cures for cancer, there's a profit behind it, they're still curing cancer.
Yeah.
So
Or-
if the goal is accomplished, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Because, yeah, someone terrible rises to power, but if they're doing all the right things, who cares how they act?
Okay. Now here's my question for you, though, Kevin, because you're Mr. Cynical.
Right.
Okay. Let's be honest. You're Mr. Cynical. You have been the entire semester. Here's my question for you. All right. Let's say that you're a leader, and let's say that you're a leader of Nigeria. Nigeria's got an awful lot of what?
Problems.
Oil.
True. Positive. What's a positive?
Oil.
Oil. Okay, if you're corrupt as a leader, where are you going to get more money? The $5 million cash prize by being good and doing the right thing, or by skimming a little off the top of those wells?
Skimming the wells. But at the same time, with or without that prize, people are doing that now anyway. So
That's the whole thing. So really, number one, this prize might not be that significant at all. It may just be a bribe in the grand scheme of things. You're right. If it encourages behavior and it works, the ends justifies the means. That's what Machiavelli would say. But I'm not so sure. Go ahead, Andrew, and then I'll come to you, Ben.
Where's the money coming from?
That's a good question, and I forget. It's all privately generated. It's the foundation that does this, and our argument is that if we provide the right incentives, then we're going to promote democracy in Africa, a place that really has not had it consistently. That's what their sense is. Now, has it worked? It's just in the fledgling stages, so we don't exactly know just yet. But bottom line is, if I had a chance to skim off the wells, Kevin, like we were just talking about, I could probably get more than $5 million. So you go do-gooders, go take that $5 million, and I'll continue to take my $50 million and be exactly what it is that I am. Go ahead.
Again, back to whether it's oil or because you still have a lot of dictators in Africa. I mean, if they're dictators and they have military power, or they have oil power, what's to stop them to say, "Well, I want that money without doing anything," or "Why do I even need that money when I can just point a gun at you and do what I want?"
Yeah, that's one of the other cynical points about
There's
this.
not enough democratic elected leaders to, have a nice pool of candidates.
Some leaders
Or-
are really trying. Others are just like, hey, it sounds good on paper, but let's be honest, I got the chance to get way, way more. So it's kind of controversial.
Or could they
and it
pretend
is.
to be good?
What's that?
They could pretend to be good and get the money
Well,
and
they
the wealth.
actually are monitoring this pretty well. I will give them credit for this. I mean, they are monitoring it pretty well, but it's like you said. I mean, if you get into office because you're supposed to do well, this is paying you for doing what you're supposed to be doing. And some people are like, that's just reinforcing the very problem that's going on over there anyway. When you get into office, you should do good because that's what the public is expecting of you, kind of thing. Unless, of course, maybe you're in some of these African countries where they expect the corruption. Hell, in the United States, we expect the corruption.
Nobel Prize awarded to Carter to
Stop! I have to test on it. Okay, question. The president, the Constitution article. What's the Constitution article?
That was about his crazy ideas? Or is that suspending the Constitution one? Which
Suspending
one?
the Constitution. Which one was that? The bizarre plan to suspend the Constitution.
Bizarre plan to suspend the Constitution to
What's that on?
ensure the continuation of government. They were fearing.
What's it called?
NSPD 51.
What does that mean?
National...
National Security.
Direct.
What he said.
National Security
President-
Presidential Directive 51. Okay.
And it would ensure the continuation of government
and catastrophic
that
emergency.
could cancel elections, suspend the Constitution.
Who could
If
do
the-
this?
The president, if there was a terrorist attack, a natural disaster, an atomic attack, a national emergency,
Okay,
he would then have the power to do whatever he wants.
okay, go ahead, Andrew.
And the other thing was that the president was the one who could decide what was a catastrophe, and Congress could do nothing to stop this.
National Security Presidential Directive, NSPD 51, was basically put together during the Bush administration. Now, I want to say it was like 2006. And the sense of it was, and this is real, and there's a couple of points on this that are really scary. One, it's designed to establish the continuation or maintain the continuation of government in the event of a problem. Yes?
People were afraid that Bush wouldn't leave power because of this after his 8 years.
That's exactly what this was. There was a sense, and I had mentioned this in class, that there are some people out there that think that the government is actually responsible for 9/11.
There are people all over the world.
There are, and there are some in the United States, and I think the film clip that I mentioned to you was, I believe it was called Loose Change. Bottom line is that there were some people that did not trust Bush. And their sense was that Bush, especially if it looked like that the Democrats were going to win in 2008, might actually sponsor some kind of an event that would give him the right to kick in NSPD 51, suspend the Constitution, and then continue to rule. So when you put this into context, Hurricane Katrina was a natural disaster. It was a pretty bad one. If a hurricane hit New York City or DC or something along these lines at that level, maybe this would be something. If there was a nuclear attack or some form of a terrorist attack like 9/11, these would be potential possibilities. If bird flu broke out in the country and lots of people were dying in the big picture and this was really epidemic proportions, that might be something that where a president could trigger this.
But like for something like bird flu, what would suspending Constitution help him to do to stop bird flu?
Well, I think the sense would be it would be such a medical emergency, especially if the wrong people were dying, maybe industry leaders or government leaders, something along these lines, or even military leaders for that matter. You might need to do something in order to maintain order so that people didn't panic, or if people were trying to burst out of a quarantine city, for example, you might need executive authority to be able to move chop chop. Again, I don't know all the specifics of that, but that would be the sense that I would have.
Okay.
Now, Andrew, to your point, what did you say?
I said that the president could decide what is catastrophic.
This was the thing that bothered people more than just about anything else, and that was that the president had the ability to determine what was what as far as making this call, and Congress didn't. And there was something else that was a little bit peculiar about this. Go ahead, Ariel.
There were things that weren't actually mentioned.
There were two other provisions allowing the Constitution to be suspended that were not specifically referenced, but they were kept secret in the name of national security, basically. So even Congress didn't know all of the areas or the elements within which the president could conceivably, under his own power, suspend the Constitution. This is a chilling article when you think about it, because nobody in class, except for Kevin maybe, seemed to trust President Bush, as I recall. Maybe a couple of other people, but not many. Now President Obama might very well be subject to NSPD 51. So kind of keep that in mind. Anybody with any other questions from the executives? Yes?
One of the study questions, what is a managed democracy?